Good day, everyone. I'm Xanda Hilger, and I coordinate the North Central Texas Caregiver Teleconnection through my agreement with the Area Agency on Aging of North Central Texas. Today, we're going to talk about self-care, and I love this title. Our speaker named it Self-Care for Real People. How many of you have been told you've got to take care of yourself and you've got to do this and that? And yet sometimes I have felt that people maybe weren't considering how many other balls I was juggling while I was caregiving. So, want to give you a little bit of background about Carin. Carin Zeman is the Denton Senior Center coordinator for fitness and wellness. She is a certified personal trainer. She has a passion for people over age 50 and older, also yoga and mindfulness practices. And I hear that term mindfulness bantered around a lot. So she'll be telling us more about what that really means. Carin has been helping active adults with wellness programs since 2012, and she strives to make mindfulness education and meditation a resource for everyone. So, Carin, we look forward to hearing from you.
Thank you, Xanda. As Xanda said, I have been...
Okay, I still can't hear you.
Okay.
Can anybody hear Carin? You can? Okay, it must be on my end.
Okay.
Okay, keep going. I don't have any of my... It doesn't look like you're muted, but we'll be fine.
Okay. As Xanda said, I've been working in mindfulness, yoga, meditation, officially with active adults since 2012. A little history of how I got into it. I used to be in the computer networking industry right out of college, and I was in that for about a decade. But I had some family issues and situations to where I needed to leave that, and I wanted to grow my family, but I had to reduce stress. So I actually started running. I didn't get into yoga right away and mindfulness, but I learned about mindfulness as I was becoming a distance runner because I was having a hard time focusing during my runs. That was my de-stress time, and I was just having a hard time focusing. So I talked to a couple of friends, and they're like, well, just pay attention or be aware of your run, and they threw the word mindfulness in. And I was like, okay, thanks. That didn't really help, but I'm going to dig into this a little bit more. And to me, mindfulness is actually more about just awareness. We hear self-aware or mind-aware, and that's how I really kind of see the whole mind-body practices such as mindfulness, meditation, yoga. It's all about being aware. And as I transitioned into actually my health and wellness career, this became my passion because I feel that everybody can benefit from it. And I honestly was the best kind of word of mouth marketing, because I actually practiced what I preached. I taught what I learned myself. And I was also not perfect. So I shared those journeys as well. And I still do that to this day. I was on this 2 years ago, and about a week ago, I actually listened to the recording, and I was like, wow, a lot has changed. A lot really has changed. I had been recently remarried, and I was learning how to blend our families. Well, my stepdaughter is now special needs. So I am, I'm in more of a role of a caregiver, and I understand it even more, other than just being a busy mom or a practitioner or an instructor. I'm in the throes of it now. And I have had to lean a lot on a lot of my resources, and a few that I'm going to share today with you. And so this is actually really refreshed. This role change has really refreshed my like self-care practices, because yeah, nobody has the time, right? We're so busy kind of taking care of each other or others in either our jobs or home or both, that we need practical ways to take care of ourselves. And so that's where I'm going to kick off and kind of lead you into some of the resources and the practices that I use. I'm going to lean back. I am going to bring up some. If you were on the last call 2 years ago, I'm going to bring a couple of those in, but I'm going to add some more that have really helped me, especially in the last, I want to say 4 to 6 months, when our family roles have changed, and it's brought my stress level up and actually thrown me back into my self-care practices. And I want to share those with you today. So the first one is, I've talked about this a lot over the last couple of years, is intuitive exercising. This has become crucial for me. And intuitive exercising is exercising kind of with being aware of how your body feels. So if you were particularly tired one day, you're going to take a more gentle route, either some stretching in either in your bed or your couch, or you may be even at the dinner table, and you can actually stretch your legs there, or do a big full body stretch just to stretch the spine. Or you could do a slow paced walk around the block or back and forth in front of your house. How I actually do kind of my slower paced intuitive exercising is I take a very slow walk with my very active dog in the backyard, because for me, nature really makes me tune in to in kind of how my body feels. It just kind of brings me all back together, and I'll give you more on that later. But it just kind of forcing my super active dog to calm down, it calms me down. And being outside in nature, just to walk around my backyard, it keeps me at this slow pace, which also it regulates breathing, and it just kind of brings me back into that slower pace that my body is feeling. If I have a lot of energy, I'll actually drive to the gym and work out, do an actual workout, or I'll take my dog for a run. But it all depends on how I feel. I work out at 5 o'clock in the morning. So, it is, I do really have to pay attention if I woke up with energy or if I did not. And sometimes my brain likes to play tricks on me, because it's 5 in the morning and everybody should be tired, right? But intuitive exercising is just really learning how you're feeling, just tuning into your body. And that usually is the best way, or the quickest way, to become aware of yourself, become self-aware. And so we all know we need to exercise. Doing the intuitive exercising adds another layer to it. A little side note, and I often on my slower days turn those slow intuitive walks with my dog into walking meditations, where I am aware of my sound, my surroundings. I'm taking in as much as I can through senses. And I have found I've actually done this with even my stepdaughter. It's pulling her into that. She is becoming a little bit more around of her surroundings and how she feels. And that's one of her difficulties. And so she thinks it's just a bunch of fun because we're walking the dog, but she does I ask her these questions, how does the grass feel on your feet? And she may say, I have shoes on them. I was like, well, how does it feel through your shoes? Or what does the air smell like today? How does the air feel on your skin? So it just really snaps your brain into that awareness. So that's another way to kind of bring in that intuitive exercising, as well as through walking meditations. So the second one is truly my favorite, and it's turning your daily task into rituals. I still use this. I have used this since I've learned it, and I will always, I don't want to say always, but most of the time, this is what I tell people, if you have a hard time learning about awareness or drawing into that present moment, then this is the easiest way and the quickest way to kind of get into that little bubble, that present zone. So turning task into rituals is really taking something that you do every day and turning it, not necessarily turning it, but you are adding another level to it. So one of the easiest ways to do that, I always bring up cooking, because that activates nearly all 5 of your senses. So when you're starting dinner or breakfast or any meal, you're going to pay attention to the sounds that you make when you're cooking, all the way from when you bring that skillet or bowl or anything out of the cupboard. You're going to feel that in your hands. You're going to, pay attention to how it sounds when you put it on the stove or even the microwave. My ear always perks up when I put a glass dish on the glass dish in the microwave. I'm tuned in. But you pay attention to sounds and smells, or really look at the food that you're preparing. Take a deep breath in, and then you can smell everything. Even if it's a reheating, you can smell that, that meal that you had previously, and your brain is gonna just kind of open up and be like, oh, that was a great dinner, and I can't wait to have it again. If you're, you can use your taste senses, just even during your taste test your food, make sure it's hot or you need more spices, but really savor it. Instead of just a quick taste, you're going to just hold it in your mouth and savor that taste on your tongue and see how it feels on the lips, and just really every little part of your mouth. And that really turns it into a ritual. I've mentioned laundry before. I've mentioned, washing your hands. My favorite right now to utilize, we have a very hectic end of the day, and everyone's running around, doing chores and homework and whatever. And my kitchen faces the the outside or the living area, and where everyone is basically. And I sit there, and if I get a little overwhelmed, I'm washing dishes. And I just take a minute, I take a big breath, and I look down, and I feel the water on my hands. I will often, count how many times it may take to wipe down a dish. And I really feel whatever I may be putting in the dishwasher. I just tune in, I smell the soap, and it really kind of brings me back down into the moment. And if I'm starting to feel stressed, everyone works a little bit differently, but I have a tendency to hold my breath when I start to get overwhelmed. But doing that ritual, the dishwashing ritual, brings me back into the present, and I actually release that breath that I've been holding, usually for about 5. I don't hold a breath for 5 minutes, but I feel like I'm holding it for 5 minutes or longer. So that is one of my absolute favorites to do, to ground myself, bring myself back into my surroundings and just be really aware of what is happening to me. Another favorite thing, and it takes a little bit more alone time. So if you have to schedule this time in or have someone come help you, especially if you are in a more home type caregiving situation, is it's called two different names, but my favorite is it's called yoga nidra, or it's non-sleep deep rest. And basically it's shavasana, the end of your yoga class, but that's all you do. And you start to pay attention to deep breaths, and you do a body scan, but you start top of the head on your right side, and you work your way back up. And it's not necessarily as detailed as most shavasana body scans that I have done, but you do feel when you pay attention to each location in your body, and as you're deep breathing, you almost feel the energy flowing through your body in a circle, and you feel rested, but really refreshed when you're done with it. And I have found that sometimes even 10 to 20 minutes for a yoga nidra session it's still a little too much. So kind of how I do things is I modified it. Almost everybody has to take a shower or a bath, right? We make time for that. And so I have taken some of the nidra body scans and practice those literally in the shower, kind of as I'm washing off. So I'm trying, I slow down my breath in the shower, but as I'm washing one body, I bring all of my attention, say, to my shoulder, just breathing into my shoulder, trying to relax the muscles, and I add a little gratitude in there, and just, especially with this kind of shoulder, I've had an injury in the last couple of years. So I say, thank you for getting strong, but I just kind of breathe into it. I notice that area, and then I move to the next area. It's just noticing, just being really aware. And even if you are just hopping in a quick shower, I am still amazed by it, truthfully. Just how sending all of your attention into one part of your body at a time, how it refreshes. And I'm not just saying refreshing like, oh, I just woke up from a nap. I mean, it is a really energetic type refreshment, at least for me. And I do recommend everybody giving it at least a try a couple of times. So maybe one other, I've got two more, and then we can kind of start more on the conversation or go into the I've got a little body scan treat for you today. I do use box breathing if I am at work and I can't run away. What box breathing is you take your breath in for 4 counts, and you hold it for 4, exhale for 4, and hold that exhale for 4. And because I'm pretty visual in my brain, I literally see a box forming every time I do that breath. And we'll try that incorporated with our little body scan today, because it is very helpful when all you have is maybe 60 seconds. You can get a couple of breaths in, and it immediately starts to drop your heart rate, or at least just calm your nervous system just a little bit. This is something new that I've started, is kind of like a self check-in. I've been using it in some of my most overwhelmed states. There's on top of my personal role change, I've had a lot of work changes that are still in transition. So you know how long transition goes. You never know, you may not ever know what's going on, or you don't get all the information. So it's a little bit, it can get a little bit stressful. But I just take a break and I just say, I'm feeling really stressed right now, and it's okay. It's normal. You're human to feel that way. Everything is valid. And all feelings are valid. And then I usually take a breath after that and ask myself, what do I need absolutely right now to feel a little more level? And every day it may be different. I may need to find a quiet place to work for for maybe 30 minutes. I may need to take a quick break outside. I may need to go get some water. But that check-in has been really crucial to not kind of getting overloaded. I personally have a tendency to get overwhelmed and shut down. And as caregivers, we can't always afford to do that. So I had to find a way to pause and also move forward and keep doing what needed to be done. So that's kind of all of my little tips, my little ways to incorporate a bunch of self-care on a constant basis through your daily routine or weekly routine. But I do want to walk you through kind of a body scan, a little breath work. I think it's important. Some of us, even if we've done it before, a refresher on how to do it is always a great thing. And if you've never experienced a guided body scan, this is a great way to experience it and learn it. So I've seen most of everybody has a screen off or not, which is great, but go ahead and wherever you're seated, if you happen to be driving, please just listen along, don't participate. Okay, that's all I ask. But get comfortable. If you are in a chair, go ahead and maybe scoot all the way back so you can feel the chair on the back of the chair on your back. And you can close your eyes or just gently look down at your lap, whatever works best for you. And mostly pay attention to my voice, and because that will lead you through this quick scan. So when you're ready, go ahead and take a big breath in, either through your nose or your mouth, and then slowly release it. Take another deep breath in and release. Just one more at your own pattern. Deep breath in and release. You should start to feel a little more relaxed, even just with those breaths. Now we're going to move into the box breathing. So take a deep breath in. We're going to count for 1, 2, 3, 4. Hold that breath. 2, 3, 4. Exhale. 2, 3, 4. And hold. 2, 3, 4. Now, sometimes you may need to catch your breath after that. That's okay. Just let yourself settle. We're going to try that one more time. Inhale, 2, 3, 4. Hold, 2, 3, 4. Exhale, 2, 3, 4. Hold, 2, 3, 4. Now let your breath just naturally inhale and exhale. You might find yourself relaxing a bit more into your seat. Now take your attention to the very top of your head. If you're wearing a hat or any hair accessories, you may feel that. You might even feel a little tingle. Now just let your attention come down towards the temples and cheekbones. Feel them relax. Feel your eyes relax.
Negra, sí, ella me dice contar que yo esté aquí antes de que Katia se vaya a las dos, a la 1:30, a la 1:30 porque yo me voy a decir.
And now take your attention to your jaw. Most of us don't even realize when we clench. So if you're not sure, just create a little space in between your lips. Take your attention to the tops of your shoulders. Feel them relax into the chair, creating space between the shoulders and the ears. Now focus on your midsection. You may feel your belly rise and fall with your breath, or the back of the chair on your back, or even the sides, your shirts touching the sides of your midsection. You might even find yourself sinking deeper into your chair. Now focus on the tops of your legs, both the front and the back. As you breathe, you may feel them relax and spread, but still strong and supporting you. And slowly go down your leg, reaching to your ankle and your toes. Feel the soles of your feet that keep you supported and upright all day. Now with each breath, just slowly start to scan back up your body, your lower leg, upper leg, torso, shoulders, your smile on the top of your head. Take a deep breath in. And as you exhale, begin to move your fingers one at a time. And when you're ready, blink your eyes open and take note of how you're feeling now. I hope you can take that into your daily life. Xanda, I'm all yours. You are still muted.
Actually, folks, what I'm trying to do is as Carin is talking, I'm making notes. And so you're going to get a 1 page of everything that she just talked about, as well as probably a link, Carin, to maybe a couple of nonprofit sites. Like there's a mindfulness.org that might have a script, and YouTube. Also, folks, in about probably within 2 days, the recording for this session will be up on the teleconnection site, and it'll also be up on our website. So we'll provide the link to that so that you can go in, re-listen to this, experience Carin's box breathing all over again, and just find several resources that you can integrate. And as she said, it just do what you can in the moment. I love the idea of taking things you do every day and turning it into a mindfulness experience. I'd like to tell you also that we'll be providing you some resources, links, as well as some PDF files of different materials about mindfulness. So you'll have several different resources you can refer to. Okay, that said, how about questions or comments from any of you?
Okay,
Go
I
ahead.
have one.
Go ahead.
I find it really hard to turn my brain off when you're doing all this breathing, because you're telling me to think about my head and I'm thinking about 12 other things. And by the time you got down to the rest of it, I still wasn't out of my head.
That's very common. It
Mhm.
really is. And the best way that I have found is if I cannot focus, say, on a guided practice, someone guiding me, I literally talk to myself in my head, and I tell myself, because what I'm wanting to do is shut everything off, even if it's just for 60 seconds. But I tell myself, inhale, exhale, inhale, exhale. Sometimes I will speak it out loud, but if I'm at work, I necessarily can't, but I do say it in my head. And I have found that I can't think about anything else if I'm telling myself to inhale and exhale. One other thing that sometimes works, if I'm in my brain is in an active place, but say I'm in Shavasana or something, I do an activity that I learned actually with my kids, because they have a little anxiety, and it's kind of the 5 senses, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. I tell myself, if my brain is that active and I'm in, say, Shavasana or something like that, what are 5 things I can see, 4 things I can hear, 3 things I can touch, two things I can smell and one thing I can taste. Sometimes I can't get to the taste, but what that does, it actually shuts the brain off. And it shuts it off for a minute so I can get grounded. And so if I need to do breathing, then I can do breathing. Or if I need to do a scan, I can do a scan. It basically gives my brain another job for a minute to bring it back to what I really need to do for myself. Does that help at all?
Yes, but I've tried that too. I just think
Okay.
there's a lot going on, but I've tried. I just,
Okay.
Can
that's
I
why
offer,
yoga.
a suggestion that a lot of it is practice?
Mhm.
People who practice meditation or teach meditation, they often refer to the monkey brain.
Mhm.
And you can just see that visual of our minds going, like a monkey from tree to tree, with the idea being that that's more common than not, is exactly what you're talking about. And the idea of just going back to your senses, and remember what Carin was saying, okay, just cook. And another thing, maybe an idea for all of you, is much of our monkey brain or going round and round is time to what a colleague calls time traveling. It's the what if, or it's the if onlys. And it's hard to stay in the moment when you're thinking, I've got this to do and this to do and this to do. And yet all of those things in your mind is what's taking all of our energy. So do take something that Carin mentioned that's a ritual and turn it into a ritual. And it all goes back to the five senses and just being persistent. In this list that we'll send you I'll have a link for you for YouTube. There's also an app called Calm, CALM, that's got all kinds of things. And she's referred several times to yoga practices. And yoga can be as easy as stretching, but I'll send you a link. Carin, have you heard of Yoga with Adrienne? She's
Yes.
in Austin.
Mhm.
What do you have to say about her? And is that something you would recommend to our listeners?
I highly do. I have followed Adrienne for quite a while, and I've done a bunch of her challenges. She does have yoga for anxiety on there, which is great. What I like best about her practices specifically, she does create sessions usually for something specific. She has quite a bit in there. I mean, she even has yoga for vertigo, because I had a vertigo session and I found that. But she has a lot of things that are specific. So they are targeted moves or sequences and breathing practices that will kind of help you in that moment, but they don't have anything long. I mean, she has longer sessions, but the majority of them, I want to say, are 15 to 20 minutes,
Right.
which are perfect for any like nap times or, that if you wake
And
up
it's
early.
free.
And it's free.
And
She has
you're not going to be tracked and you're not going to be marketed. That's not how she operates it.
no.
This is her mission.
Yeah, she has chair-based sessions. She has a couple of those on there. She's got several gentle yogas. I do recommend it. I know, I mean, there's so many resources, truthfully. It's just find the one that you kind of really want, especially on YouTube. And I'm sure I get kind of overwhelmed when talking about yoga on YouTube because there is actually there is so much literally at your fingertips. But I do recommend finding something that fits for you within like maybe the 10 to 15 minute range, because sometimes that's all you need.
I have a question from Stephanie. Is there anything special to use for anxiety for taking a multiple city overseas airplane trip and early travel and jet lag when your sleep pattern is so disrupted?
Okay. The anxiety, I would, it kind of depends on what the anxiety is about, but if it's just general travel, I do use the the five senses kind of countdown. Especially I don't like takeoffs on planes, so I walk myself through that. I do the box breathing. And but I've found with jet lag, the yoga nidra or the NSDR, it's the non-sleep deep rest, that literally is combining breath work and a body scan. It's not you sleeping, but if you do that before you say you get out of bed, you have an early rise after you've traveled. That can truly help, and just to energize your body. There are YouTube videos on that as well. I have recently found a few of those, and I found a 5-minute one the other day. It was great. It really was great, and I would recommend that because it brings you more into yourself, and so you could feel more grounded but more refreshed at the same time.
You used a couple of terms that some people may not be familiar with.
Mm-hmm.
You tell us what Nidra yoga is, and also you mentioned MSDR. Could you
Yes.
find those?
So I'll also type them in here when I'm kind of done, because I have a tendency to talk with my hands.
Sure.
Yoga.
So
Okay. Yeah. Yoga Nidra. It's N as in Nancy, IDRA. It is it's kind of it's like an active rest. Think of Shavasana at the very end, your rest period. That's all you do. Truthfully, you may move in a couple of positions depending on who is guiding you, but it is it's an active rest. I have joked at times that it's my yoga nap, because I just lay there and breathe. But that's what yoga nidra is. Now, as in Nancy, non-sleep deep rest, NSDR, it's just another scientific name for Shavasana. Yoga nidra, it literally is the same thing, but it's an active rest where you're combining breath work and body scan. And that's where you really focus on that, like one part of your body at a time. And I do recommend doing a YouTube search. Just watch a couple of videos and at least listen to kind of what they say, and you'll see a kind of a familiarity between the scan that I did and what they play in the video, because it's just a body scan and paying special attention to every part of your body at a time. So, but I'm going to put those in the notes. So everyone, Xanda, you can put those in the show notes, but also everyone can take a look at that as well. So
it talks about Shavasana. Most people that practice yoga say their favorite part of yoga is Shavasana, because you literally just lay there. And she's talked about that several times. And yoga nidra, one definition is slowing down and chilling out.
mm-hmm. Absolutely.
Good questions. Other
Mhm.
questions or comments? How many of you use some kind of practice that works for you that you could share with us? Of whatever it is, exercise or whatever.
I started carrying a stone with me so that when I'm with my whoever I'm having a hard time communicating with,
Mhm.
I'll squeeze on the stone so that that's what I'm focusing on to
Mhm.
remind myself to relax and not engage or
Mhm.
think about what I'm about to say.
So really what you're doing is you're paying attention, you're observing a real thing, which is your hand holding that stone. How does it feel? All those things that Carin was talking about. That's a
So,
good.
And one thing I threw in a little bit when I was talking about intuitive exercising. Anytime you can get outside, even if it's with your people, if possible, just do it. Because I know this was all over the place, especially during the pandemic, but I have not stopped hearing it. And we all do hear it all the time. Being out in nature is for 10 to 30 minutes a day, even 2 minutes will make such a difference. It reduces stress. It helps you regulate breathing. You of course get your vitamin D. There's so many benefits from being in it. There's a couple of things that I often do if it's possible. Walk barefoot in grass.
Mhm.
That is my favorite. I live in the middle of the city, but I grew up in the country. So that is almost the first thing I do anytime I can, as soon as I get home from work. I just walk barefoot in the grass. Sit outside and listen to birds. There's studies, especially recently, that bird sounds or bird songs will automatically reduce your stress level without you even realizing it. If you ever have a chance to do like a nature therapy session or a forest bathing, I highly recommend it, but you can do it by yourself. It is you go out to a place where you probably won't be very interrupted, or even your backyard, and you sit and you pay attention to all the senses. Close your eyes if you can, but you just bring in, what do I hear? What do I smell? What is the feeling? And you bring in the deep breathing, or you just sit and you just take it in. You kind of immerse yourself, forest bathing, but you just immerse yourself, and that can really help. I mean, that does take some dedicated time, but most of us at least can walk outside, hopefully, for a couple minutes a day, and it will truly make a difference.
But some of the rest of you, what do you do for your stress, or what help do you need from Carin? I want to refer again to the Calm app. It's always rated as one or first or second of apps online because there are many. It's pretty limited to what's free now, but what I really loved about it is they do adult bedtime stories. Now, that doesn't mean it's racy. It just means that in the same way that children will go to sleep often, just hearing a bedtime story, what they have done is sometimes it's a recording of a celebrity. Things like one person has done a recording, and it's an actor, about being on a train ride in Ireland. So it's just very soothing. And then if there's any background, like that sound of a train, the wheels of a train. So that might be other things that you can try. And as Carin mentioned, just do searches online. And there is so much that is available for free. And these are not tracking. Obviously Calm, they're now selling theirs and they do some, but I've never found it to be that you get a pop-up every few minutes. You don't get a pop-up, it just keeps playing, but lots of choices. And there are other apps too.
Well, I've found that, breathing is the one. There's the 4, they call it 4x4 also, or the 4-7-8.
Mhm.
It's amazing how you can calm yourself just by controlling your breathing.
Mhm.
Another one, this is reading, but guided imagery is another one where, and you kind of did that, Sandra, when you kind of described that when you're to a group. I lead some groups and do guided imagery, just gently, quietly reading, having people close their eyes. It's like taking them to another place. And so that's another way for me. In my spirituality, I do one where we keep silent for 20 minutes, and that not many people can do that, but it's amazing how many thousands of thoughts come to your mind that you have to keep just letting go by. But that's something even beyond spirituality, just for your own calming, to sit, which seems like a long time, but even like you said, 5 minutes or 2 minutes. We're in such a frenetic culture that for you to just take a minute and, like they used to say, smell the roses.
Stop and smell the roses. I remember.
Yes. I read a book recently by Dr. Gupta, and he's talking about brain health, and I don't remember the exact word, but he said that there's in the woods, being in the woods, there's something happens physically that brings healing to your body. And if you do it for 20 minutes, it can last up to 30 days in your system. Just that, I don't know if you call it forest walking, but there's some phenomena that happens in the forest, and it happens within us as we even inhale in that setting. So those are some of the things that I've been made aware of.
I received something from our health insurance company, and it was an essay that was dropped into it, and it was entitled Meditation as a Way to Relax. And maybe a word of caution to everybody. A lot of these words are being tossed around. Like true meditation, most people can't do it because it is the true monkey brain. It takes years to master that. But anytime you hear guided imagery or mindfulness or anything that involves the breath, breathing especially, is going to be beneficial to all of us, regardless of what they call it. We haven't talked about laughter yet. The healing power of laughter, that there's so much of life, as you said, Larry, or Harry, I guess it is. So much of life is very fast and stressful, and finding ways to laugh. And the best laughs are about ourselves or to ourselves. Anybody got any comment about that? Well, I want to pose a question about laughter. And I am recalling an experience for myself when I was the caregiver for my mother, is that very often something that in the moment is extremely stressful, the next day or even that evening, when you recall that experience or you're telling somebody else about it, it becomes funny. And I have in mind something that my mom and I got into a struggle over. And yet, by the end of the day, we were laughing about it. And one of us said, when you said blah, 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 and then we just laughed. So it may not be funny, even especially in the moment, but we have to find ways to lighten up. And sometimes the way to do that is with some laughter. Of course, we have to choose our moments, I guess. How about the rest of you? I'm looking at questions.
This is Sharon, and I just had a friend call me this morning, and we were talking, and we ended up laughing about something. It was really simple, and her comment was, you know, every time I call you, I can depend on you giving me a good laugh.
Mhm.
And I told her, I said, you know, that's me. That's my mantra. That's what I do. I laugh at things. I laugh at myself. I watch comedy just so I can laugh because I know that generates so many like warm fuzzies within my body. So that's one of the ways that I take care of myself is just finding at least one thing to laugh about every single day.
Generates those hormones too.
Yes.
And do your own little experiment. After a real stressful day, go turn on something funny.
Mhm.
Maybe after the news.
Oh, absolutely.
Maybe one of those 70 sitcoms or something that'll make you laugh and see how you feel. Now, sometimes I don't want to laugh. There's too much seriousness. I don't want to laugh. So timing is important, but if we allow ourselves to take a step back or a step over, we see it differently.
Mhm.
You agree, Karen?
Completely. I completely do. Usually, if I have a pretty bad day, I tell my kids go get the joke book. Because that's my go-to, because usually, anything that I would, even calling a friend, I'd have to wait a couple of hours or anything. So that is my go-to, truthfully, is I have them tell jokes to me. Also, I will go throw ball with my dog. See, because the funny thing is about that, my dog doesn't know how to stop for the fence. It brings up that laughter when I'm like, oh gosh, one day you may learn. But just something as simple as those two, it can change your whole day. It can change how your whole body feels. The things that stress us will still be there, most likely. So any way you can find your way through it, it will be beneficial, and laughter is usually the best, truthfully.
Anybody have a last question or comment? And then we'll let Carin summarize or give us one more jewel of wisdom. I don't see anything in the chat. Okay, here we do. Here we go. Let's see. Find joy in the journey. That's a good one. Go see my big fat Greek wedding 3. Lots of laughs. So fun and enjoyable. And then several, thank you for your time. Thank you so much. Have a great day. And then Stephanie said, I've been trying to use stay calm and breathe. 4-7-8. What do you mean by that?
That's a technique where you breathe in gently and deeply for 4 seconds, feel your stomach rise, and then hold the breath for 7 seconds. Again, feeling that breath swish around, go to your head, go to your toes, wherever it's needed most, and then exhale for 8 seconds. But sometimes when I am so wound up tightly or anxious or overwhelmed, I can't even begin to do it. And that's when I know I need it the most, but maybe I can only do a 4 box instead of 4, 7, 8. But when I'm relaxed and calm, I can do the 4, 7, 8, no problem. And I do feel grounded and rested and rejuvenated during that time.
Well, that's a stress response, is we don't breathe as deeply when we're stressed. And that's what you can't get there, because you can't get there until you do it more step by step. So you
Yeah, exactly.
make it work. Carin, any closing words of wisdom?
I think the best thing is we're always on the search, you know, kind of for either a quick fix or something to help us right then and there, or something to implement. I recommend is we've mentioned a lot of resources. I've mentioned a lot of tips, a lot of things that you could do. And you don't have to take all of them. You don't have to take all of them. Take one thing, either that you're already doing, and really focus on that for probably the next couple of weeks and see if that helps. And or take one of the things that I've shared with you, or that Xanda has shared with you, or that any of the community has shared, you know, just take one and give it a shot, see if it helps. And it's kind of, you don't want to get overwhelmed by your like self-care options when you're already overwhelmed in the first place. So just find one thing that works for you. I think I touched on this very briefly. Do find one thing that you're thankful for every day, because it's I didn't really bring that into this conversation because it is talked about often, but we're all gonna have those days where you're just like, I'm not thankful for anything. I just wish I didn't get out of bed. And on those days, I have those days, and those days I'm so thankful for my cup of coffee. I mean, it may be that simple, or I'm so thankful that my pillows are super fluffy and I'm about to go to bed. Just one thing, because in time, kind of like Harry was talking about, with being in the forest for 20 minutes, it physically does something. It does. I've read that study. It physically changes us. So does gratitude, but it works in the brain, and it changes your neurons. It helps you change your perception. And like everything we've talked about, it is a practice. We're not going to be perfect. We're not going to be able to get it right every time. We may not do it every day, but the more you practice, the better you get at it, and the better you will then take care of yourself. All of this is just practice. So that's it.
Excellent. Thank you. Thank you for joining us. And Carin, if you'll if you can give me a couple of more minutes, I have a couple of questions for the notes I took. Okay.
Sure.
Everybody have a great day.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Thank you very much, Carin and
Thank you for your
Xanda.
contribution.
Okay. Mhm.